Welcome back to another episode of Tsene with Pretoria Psychologists. 1 in 6 people suffer from mental health, and with COVID-19 lockdown restrictions, mandates to work from home, and mandates for some of us to work and go back to work, anxiety is high. Today's episode will be focused on anxiety in the context of work. It's important to note that we need to start supporting one another emotionally and practical. Start developing a network. That network can be made up of yourself, your co-workers, management, and can even be reinforced with a corporate culture that inspires employee wellness. Today, we're talking about anxiety in the context of work. Anxiety can definitely affect our quality of work, the services we provide, and the relationships in which we start to build with our colleagues and our management. It's also important to note that stress is extremely normal at work, but when it becomes persistent, irrational, overwhelming, and has a negative impact on our daily functioning, we need to start considering what we need to do to actively work with our anxiety. Things that we can start to do with our anxiety is to accept our anxiety. Why is this important? The more we fear our anxiety, the more powerful it becomes. It is a process, a day-to-day practice of acceptance that we need to start embarking on. It is important to ensure that our daily practice is grounded in self-awareness. What does this mean? The next time you realize that you are anxious, your heart rate is increased, take a moment and say to yourself, I am anxious, and that's okay. I am uncomfortable. I don't know how long this will last. That's important. What that does is it shows us that in that moment, anxiety is something that is governing our behaviors. Why does it become important to accept anxiety? Because it is a process whereby our aim is to start working with our anxiety. Our aim is to start working with it and not against it. What we resist will persist. And what I mean by this is that the more we resist our anxiety, the more we repress our anxiety, the more likely it is to have a negative impact on our daily functioning. The second tip would be to develop a wellness plan. What is a wellness plan? A wellness plan speaks to, are we receiving adequate sleep? Are we eating a balanced diet? And are we socializing and exercising outside of work? Why is this important? Research has indicated that if we have all of that I've just mentioned, we have a greater chance of managing anxiety in the workplace. The second or third thing rather would be to consider telling your employer. Now, I want to stress here that this is entirely voluntary on your side, and you may assess whether or not this is applicable. But why this is important? Because it starts to open up channels of communication with regards to accommodations and support for you should you be experiencing anxiety at work. This allows for negotiation around deadlines, and it's important to note that with deadlines, not all deadlines are negotiable. But where there is space to negotiate, there needs to be open communication so that you may negotiate that space. This brings me to my fourth point of setting honest deadline. Anxious people at work tend to accept any deadline that comes their way. If there is room to negotiate, it is important to negotiate because we want to ensure that your anxiety and your mental health remains intact, but also that the quality of work is high. And therefore that constant negotiation is key. A fifth one is to set boundaries. Now this is a fairly complex start because right now with COVID-19, where we work and where we live have become one. And hence I really want to stress the importance of boundaries. Boundaries need to be firm yet flexible. What do I mean by this? For example, we're working from home, we're online from 8 o'clock all the way till 9 o'clock. We are not observing boundaries that help with our anxiety. Rather, we should be online from 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock and then have an agreement with our team, ensuring that we do not answer emails or check voicemails. If it is important, to then have a phone call or a system in place of communication. This allows for the adequate time for downtime, relaxation and socializing, which is important. Staying organized is another tip that can help with anxiety in the workplace. And this is often not very high on our to-do list. However, it can have positive impacts. Firstly, it can ensure that we are on time, that we are not confused with regards to where documents are, as well as avoid a crisis at work. What do I mean by this? If, for example, your employment is admin heavy, you may have to file and do a lot of paperwork. But if we only leave that till Friday, your environment in terms of your office may become crowded with regards to the amount of paper you have. Therefore, setting aside 15 minutes to do it every day means that you walk into a work environment that is already organized and calmer. This helps with your anxiety. My last tip is to always seek treatment in cases where it becomes extremely overwhelming and there is massive daily impact in terms of your functioning. There is also a lot of stigma around treatment. I'm of the opinion that when you seek treatment, it is a sign of strength. And why do I say this? Strength in regards to you being able to access or gain control over your anxiety, taking responsibility, and ensuring your own mental health is a sign of strength. What's also important to consider is that seeking treatment is anxiety provoking and may be very unfamiliar to a lot of us. Therefore, a colleague that we trust, a family member, can accompany you to treatment and seeking treatment with a medical health professional. Having a loved one with you may help you in driving to the appointment, sitting in your first consultation. All of this helps you navigate the unfamiliar, which in itself is already anxiety provoking. It may also help your professional in a sense of building a support system around you. The person you choose to accompany you to therapy may also be used as a tool for your support, both emotionally and practically. Again, I want to stress that the point here is to work actively with your anxiety and not against it. Remember, what you resist will persist. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Naidoo with Tsene with Pretoria Psychologists. We'll see you at the next one.